Where's the music? Oh, hang on. They've changed it.
There we go.
And we're live. What a day! What a the joys of going live on LinkedIn or anywhere, actually, for that matter. So welcome, Luann Wise. I'm very excited to have you here. We're kind of matching hair color, which is always a good thing, I think. Why not? But Luann, welcome to the B2B Live Lounge. And I'm very excited to be here because we've been trying to book this in for quite a long time, and we are now here and we've done it. And then we had all kinds of tech issues behind the scenes just now, folks, just now. But we made it a bit late, but we're here. We're here. Now, Luann Wise, please go to LinkedIn in a second. Where you are on LinkedIn, please go and follow, connect with Luann because she's absolutely awesome. She is a multiple times author, a chartered marketer. I'll keep what you just told me for a secret for now. And an all-round quite amazing person in the B2B and marketing space. Is that a fair assessment, Luann?
I'll take that. Thank you. Yes. Yes. I'm happy with that.
You're happy with that?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And interestingly, what I loved about when we connected to get you on the program, you came to me and you said, can we talk about this thing? And I loved that because normally I'll kind of have a look around your profile, I'll look at your content and I'll think, oh yeah, Luann's very good at this thing, or I might have read your book or two of them or three or four or five of them. And then I would have thought, let's talk about these things. But you coming to me with the idea, and I thought, oh, I like that. We've never done that before. And it's a very interesting and I think quite relevant topic for now. So everybody's thinking, what is this exciting topic? I hope, folks, that you find it as exciting as Luann and I do. If you don't now, you might by the time we've finished. So we're going to be talking about industry trend reports today, which is obviously a topic very close to your heart, Luann, because it was something that you wanted to discuss. So let's just have a little look at what we do on LinkedIn first, just before we dive into industry trend reports, because they do definitely affect how people behave on LinkedIn. But from what I see from you on LinkedIn, and I love connecting with you on LinkedIn because you're just very you and you're very real on LinkedIn. Am I right?
Well, I think that's the only way you can be, isn't it? And I guess in a way I do work for myself. I run my own business, so I know that sometimes people who are employees find that a challenge to get that kind of balance between working for an organization and being themselves. So, and we'll always say, but you work for yourself, it's fine. But you have to be consistently you, because who else are you going to be? And when you come to talk with people and meet them face to face, that's what people connect with.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I come across this a lot, as I'm sure you do in the B2B space, employees very nervous about showing, and actually not only employees, CEOs, lots and lots of people very nervous about showing that personal side of them. And I think it's people are finding it a little bit easier, but there's still a lot of people who've got a long way to go. Don't you agree?
I think it's something that you need to sit back and reflect on in like a rational moment, like in a planning phase of like, what do I want to share with potentially 1 billion? I know it's never going to be 1 billion, but what are you comfortable sharing and what are you not comfortable sharing? And I think there's sometimes things where you kind of go, oh, I'd love to share this, but actually that's not right. I can screenshot that and send it to someone I've known for years and a private conversation versus what you're happy sharing publicly, because it is about being mindful and focused on that, and how people perceive you, and all of those things kind of wrapped up. But I think you need to do that in a real kind of conscious, rational moment, not in a heat of a topic kind of flaring up or getting involved in something.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And I think having your line drawn, if you want to call
Yeah.
it that,
Yeah.
before, and you know where your line is. And I think if you are ever in that heat of the topic moment, which actually I was in one yesterday, and I thought, well, I'm going to post about this on LinkedIn. And then I thought, no, I'm not. Absolutely not. It was not appropriate at all. And it would have meant lots of stars and shapes to hide words which were not words that LinkedIn would like us to publish. So yeah, I think that's really good. So if you know your line, where your line is, it's going to make that process easier, isn't it, for yourself?
Yeah, and I think, you know, it is your own decision on your own call on how you do that, and you know, where you want to go with it, you know, completely individual decision. But I'll share with you, Sarah, I have some great screenshots, because the good thing about kind of training and talking about this is you're constantly collecting screenshots and anonymizing them for things. And I have a great set of screenshots that I share, particularly with university students, when we might be talking about this and like their career brand, and I put a couple of examples up and say, oh, you know, what do you think of these? And one of the first pieces of feedback is like, I love that they're sharing an opinion and they've got, you know, a real strong stance on this and everything else. And I go, okay, that's cool. Then I ask the question, would you work with them? And the answer's different. So there's sometimes like how you know, and that's what I think you ultimately need to have in mind when you're thinking about what you share and how you present yourself, is what's your purpose behind it? Because it was a really interesting, I won't share the specific examples live on here, but it was a real clear stance on, oh yeah, I like seeing the opinions, but I wouldn't want to work with them because I wouldn't want to be kind of that to be written about me potentially, or to be associated with that topic. So it was quite a clear different answers to two questions.
So I like that, but in the same situation.
Yeah,
Interesting, very
yeah,
interesting. So I think probably what they were doing the first time is perhaps looking through the narrative of social media platforms that they're used to seeing people on, maybe Instagram, Facebook, wherever they hang out.
yeah.
But then when you LinkedInified it, if you like, and professionalized it, no, we need to reframe what we're thinking here.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Cool. Okay, so let's dive into industry trend reports.
Yeah.
What are they? Shall we start?
Yeah. As you know, I love an industry trend report. It's something that I talk about a lot in monthly lives that I do, in my teaching and my training. We always go and find an industry trend report because that's what people want to know about, and they always want to know like what others are doing. And these industry trend reports could come in the world of social media directly from the platforms. They're very often from key players in the industry, maybe the social media management tools or other tech things. They are a great way of kind of presenting insights and information. So we can draw upon those to share. And really, when I'm talking about industry reports, I'm looking for it to support the story that I'm telling. You know, I'm looking for it to like back up my thoughts and insights, or to present a narrative by going, and look, here's some data that says the same. And I think that's always useful when you're teaching and training, or when you're doing client consultancy work, or whether you're in-house and you're putting together a proposal or a business case to back that up with external data. You know, I fully support that and do it all the time myself. I just think sometimes there's a small danger to it as well.
Yeah, no, I like that. So in terms of usage of them, so when I wrote my only one book, I've only written one, I did a lot of diving into those metrics and those stats to basically back up what I was saying was, this is why you need to get your employees onto LinkedIn, because this says this and this says that and that says the other. It's not just me saying, oh, this is really good fun and it'll give me a job. And also when I'm pitching for work and I'm trying to buy people into the spend, basically. It's like, this is partly your ROI. So, where is the ROI? let's have a look at what that can look like and what can be the transformation for you if you do this right.
Yeah.
And so they are, I think they definitely have their place. And people love a stat, don't they? They love a statistic. Oh, we love something to hang our hat on. But some of them are, let's face it, better than others.
Yes.
So what would you say is the sort of distinguishes one, report that just chucks a load of data out and one that actually has done a proper dive into the situation?
Yeah. Well, I think it's all about credibility, isn't it? And we know that, there is so much noise on social media and other platforms. So the number one thing is credibility, like who has produced this? Then potentially thinking like, and why have they produced this? What was the purpose behind it? But then also looking at the methodology, like how have they collected this? Is this just from their LinkedIn scroll and the last 10 posts they've seen? Or have they done a deep dive into like hundreds of thousands of posts because they had access to it with correct approval? So I think it's always just checking, it's about checking the credibility, why it's been done, and what is the source, because the danger is drawing conclusions or making recommendations from seeing 10 posts is really dangerous.
Yeah. But it's still correct. The information is still correct that they're putting out. So, for example, if I put a poll on LinkedIn and 88% gave answer A, and the rest was sort of split between B, C, and D, the 88% could have been 3 votes, couldn't it?
It could, and I think it's about, okay, I've been presented with this insight. I trust the person who did it, but then it's, what does this mean for me, and am I going to do something as a result? And is it relevant to my sector, my audience, and all of those things? So it's just making sure that you question the data, I think.
Yes, which could take us into a deep journey into AI, but let's not do that. So, okay, so there are definitely good. So how can we tell? How can we tell how much research has gone into creating those facts and figures?
Yeah. Well, a good research report should have a methodology section at the end and say how they've compiled it and when they compiled it, and what was their source. That's a number one thing. But I think it's about, why have they done this? Like, what's the purpose? Are they using it to create a headline that's to create something dramatic for them, or is it genuinely to share industry insights that's valuable? I think what's also important is that, if you are looking for this insights, you and I use it for training purposes, it can be quite broad. But if you were in-house as a, in a client side role, is this relevant to your country? For starters, so much of the data is either a global overview or maybe US specific. Will it apply to you if you're in the UK, for example? Is it your industry sector? Very often they can be so broad as well, and we know that industry sectors can differ. And when you do start to look into some of these reports, some of them are so nuanced now. There's some great reports where it kind of says, if you have a small following, your benchmarks will be this. If you have a larger following, your benchmarks will be that. So it's really making sure that if you are using these reports, you try and find something that is as relevant to you as possible, or you're aware that it is a global overview and have that in your mind.
That's really good advice, actually, because it will apply differently. So yes, if somebody's researched 100,000 people, but your audience is much smaller, then yes, the results may not be relevant to you. So that's really interesting. Yes, and lawyers would come up with a very different answer from engineers, for example. Quite probably in many things. So so always look at the source, and also the date. Look at when, because I find when if I'm on the internet and I'm researching something, a stat will come up and I'll think, really? And then I'll see it's 6 years old.
Yeah.
But you have to dig quite far. You have to read quite far down sometimes for that date to be shown, which I do find a little bit frustrating. But that's
I think doing a lot of writing in this space, you either say it's a classic example, or you're looking for something in the last 2 or 3 years, but sometimes even
Yes.
in the last 6 months as well, because particularly, we've got the 2020 line that did change the world quite significantly, that there's
Yes.
quite a lot pre that, won't be relevant. But if it's social media insight data, to go back even more than 12 months wouldn't be relevant.
Not worth doing.
No.
No, absolutely not. So interesting. So talking of the purpose, why a company, because it's usually companies, not individuals, because there's a lot of data to collect. Why would a company spend their resources creating these reports? And you said, is it for general information or is it for self-publicity?
Yeah.
So, which leads me to think that there must be a bias coming in, and how is that monitored, and how do we know if there is or there isn't?
Yeah, I think it's again looking at what the purpose of the research, what questions they asked. I think creating data and industry insights is a brilliant thing to do for your existing customers, for your potential customers. It's thought leadership, isn't it? It's educating people. It's just making sure that you kind of really think about how did they do this and why did they do it and what was involved in it when you're looking at the results. Because we've all seen, there is certain reports out there that are just about telling you how to hack things, which isn't what most people are trying to do. Or, if it is real lead gen focused, is it a lead gen industry insight? Is it community focused? I think it's about trying to find the reports that align with your objectives, not just kind of some stats that are thrown out there of like, do this to get more reach. Like, what does that actually mean? It's got to be focused on what you're trying to achieve when you're looking for the relevant data to present your case.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I like that. And I mean, I would like to think that a company asking questions to an audience to, elicit information, how is it possible to create bias? And I suppose if they wanted to, it's the way they phrase the questions to try and elicit specific answers. I guess that would be a tool that they could use. So, in fact, digging deeper into a report, finding out, what did you ask? What were the questions? You've come up with this finding, but actually, what was the question that you asked in the first place? If you really wanted to dig deep into that.
Yeah.
And it is interesting because I already know I've often opened, not often, sometimes, occasionally over the years, open my LinkedIn feed to find that I've been voted in the top 10 of London LinkedIn trainers. And it's a great feeling. It's a really nice feeling. And then you look deeper and you think, well, actually, they didn't really ask many people, but, but hey, it's still nice to have. But is it really a representation? And I think you're right. Digging deep is the answer, isn't it? And finding out exactly what's going on.
Yeah, which is with anything that you're sharing, really. It's all about checking your sources.
Yeah.
It's just being vigilant to it. And because, especially if you're presenting them to someone and someone asks you a question, can you actually say, yes, I got it from here, or this is what the underlying questions were, or this is why I've included this. So you've got to feel confident in using the data.
Yes, absolutely. And as you know, as an author, you've put your bibliography in either the back of the book or at the bottom of the page, and you need to check that. And I spent so long
hours for the pages that no one will read.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But you've got to be, it's your reputation that's at stake, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
and someone will check. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody will.
Someone will check. Yeah.
Yes, somebody will check. Yeah, they will. For definite. So I'm just, who have we got here? Who's made it? We have a comment from Ikra Rashid. Hello, Ikra. This is interesting. Good, with a thumbs up. Anybody else out there can please just pop your name in the chat and say hi. And if you have any questions for Luann about industry trend reports or about B2B marketing generally, let's have them. Let's have them, because we can wave around with different topics. We're very happy to move around. So in one of your books, Relax, It's Only Social Media, which I have to say is a great title.
Thanks.
It's such a great title, because when I first started out as a social media manager, you know, you've got to get everything so exact. And this is the way to do it. And I worked in advertising for a long time before I worked in marketing and social media, and spending all day photographing a pack of Fairy Liquid. No, I'm not allowed to say that. That's the brand name. Washing up liquid, for example. And it's got to be right. It has to be absolutely right. And the attention to detail has to be very, very important. But relax, guys. It is only social media.
But it's really interesting. So, you know, I wrote that in 2016. And for me, the title was very much that's how people were feeling about it. They were so overwhelmed, fearful, on edge. It was, I guess, in the business context, still quite a big new thing. And my approach was a bit like, just take it back to your marketing basics. Like, do you know your audience? Do you know where they are, what you need to say to them? Like, social media is another channel. It's not a tech fear that sometimes those two things get mixed up. So yeah, the title at the time is very much to try and reflect on how people were feeling about it. But yeah, 2016, that was my first book.
I think there's a part 2 though. I think part 2 is Relax, It's Only LinkedIn.
Yes, by perhaps. But you know, Sarah, like writing about social media in a printed book is one of the hardest things ever, because, you know, by the time you press, you know, print on your own proof to check it, things have changed. So for me, when I do write about social media, it's trying to stick to those fundamentals and the thinking and the questions, not the how-tos, because that literally changes by the minute.
Exactly. And that's why my book, I decided I wasn't going to do a how-to. And I, you know, and I decided I was going to write a book about LinkedIn. I didn't know what it was going to be, or what it, you know, how or whatever. And I thought, oh gosh, you know, I have got spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet of how to do LinkedIn. I could literally write a book in my sleep of this is how to set up your profile. This is, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I thought, no, because it will be out of date by the time we've finished. So yeah. Oh, we have Sarah Gonzalez Martin. Hi, Sarah and Luann. I'd like to know more about the books. Maybe start reading some. Well, Sarah, you have my book. I know you have my book. So Luann, where can we buy Luann's books?
Well, all on Amazon. So Relax, It's Only Social Media. Actually, I started writing a version 2 in 2020, 2021, but version 2 has a different title, which is called Planning for Success, which is all about, again, getting those fundamentals in place. And it was based on research and a very robust methodology, asking B2B audiences questions. So that was my second book. This, unashamed plug here, is Smart Social Media. This was published at the end September last year, and the subtitle of this is about how to grow your business with social media marketing. So planning for success, about getting the fundamentals and your plan in place. Smart Social Media is about growth. I've also written a chapter in a book called The Future of Charity Marketing, about social media, and a really small book called which is focused on how to use social media at work. And I will share with you, I am submitting, or we are submitting, because I've co-authored the manuscript for book number 6 tomorrow.
Wow!
Is our deadline. I have a call after this. We are doing a final proof check together, and we are submitting our manuscript tomorrow.
Front page? I mean,
yes.
Hey, this is like brand new news. Who are you co-authoring with?
I am co-authoring with an academic from University of West England in Bristol, Tom. We have co-authored the book where it is a combination of theory and practice. So bridging the gap. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, how exciting. I didn't know that. So there we go. Thank you for your question, Sarah.
all on Amazon.
All on Amazon. Absolutely. Don't we love that?
Yeah.
So going back to what the industry trend reports, how do you see the role of social media evolving in industry trend analysis? Do you think that we're going to be doing more of it? Do you think we're going to be doing less of it because people are fed up with it? Do you think people rely on them too much, not enough?
I think the word is evolving. These trend reports and things don't happen overnight. They slowly come into our conversation, new buzzwords and things happen. I think what I'd like to see is, if an organisation is creating a report, that they look around what already exists and do something new. We know that at the end of the year it's all predictions for the following year, and that's interesting, but there ends up being a lot of overlap. I think what I would advise an organisation is to try and find something where you are creating like an ongoing study, a bit like Edelman's Trust Barometer. They're doing a monitoring where things are changing all the time, the same topic, but they're known for that topic. Whereas some of the others you see are a bit more ad hoc, pick out the air. And I think sometimes there's some brilliant reports. I know that there's some like careers in social media, and if you look them up, they may have been done 2 or 3 years ago, and you almost want to go, I want the next year, and I want the update. So try and almost like find your thing and repeat it if it's about the industry, rather than doing something that everyone's doing, like top tips or end of year predictions.
Interesting. And also, I think what you highlighted there is, when you're thinking about a report, is focus it on a particular audience. Because top tips for social media is one thing, but top tips for social media for charities, or top tips for social media for, I don't know, for lawyers or the engineering industry, something like that. Maybe that would be a better way of approaching it.
Yeah, and the best reports I like to see are, I love data. I love to see the charts and everything. But actually, when you've then got people within the industry to look at that and provide you with their comments and insights, so they start telling the story of the data and bringing it to life as well, because not everyone can interpret a chart or know what it means to them. So getting that balance between kind of like quotes from trusted people and the data is, adds a lot of value.
Absolutely. And I love the idea of telling the story of the data and creating it into an actionable, an actionable, purposeful topic, if you like, or document, so that people can actually act on it, rather than just looking at the charts. Because unlike you, I am not chart driven at all. And I would look at charts and go,
but you need to tell people what it means and what they and then what they could do differently, or what they don't need to worry about.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I think when a chunk of data is telling you lots of different things, sometimes those things slightly contradict each other, or as a reader, you're not quite sure which one, because maybe you're looking at them thinking, I can't take on all of these, I can't do all of these, which ones out of these should I pick to act on and to take forward in my life?
I think sometimes you need to present like some quick wins, things that people can implement straight away, and then these are the things that you might need to have conversations about, or future planning, or find budget for. So absolutely. A mixture of outputs.
Agree. And because there are a lot of these things flying around, and and I find if you start reading them, you kind of find more and more and more. And this is what I was finding when I was, researching for my book. It's like, I had no idea there was so much written about, I was trying to think of a particular topic about, happiness at work, because that's one of the things I do talk about in the book. And it's like, I had no idea so much research had been done, and it opened up a massive can. And I could have written a whole book. Of course I could have written a whole book about that. And it's like, where to stop? Help.
You've got to do the background research, haven't you? Like what's already out there.
Exactly. Yes, because you don't want to just be copying what everybody else is saying, of course. And in terms of trying to predict, so using reports to predict the future and predict emerging trends, for example, how? Because there is so much stuff going on, and LinkedIn is, it's going crazy. How on
Yeah.
earth do you stay on top of it all?
Well, I think I see this as part of my job, and it's something that I enjoy. So actually, my first task of every day is cup of coffee, sit at my desk, go through the news sites, whether that's the newsrooms of each of the main platforms or some of the other kind of key tech websites. Like I do keep on top of it because I know that it's hugely overwhelming if you get behind, and also because it is something as part of my world. Like I talk about it, I do monthly events, I stand on stages talking about it. It's almost like I have to do this because it's my job, and hopefully that is helpful to other people. But when you are almost on top of it, you kind of, it's not like a major change overnight. You see them happening, or you see it happening on one platform and then like, oh, they've now all added this feature, or small differences. So it's almost drip feeding it to me, and then you start seeing things coming through, or the changes. So some of the core themes at the moment, clearly a short form video, been going on a long time, but we're now seeing, as you said, like LinkedIn is really picking up on that, more than other platforms. We're also seeing a lot around creators and influencers as well, and the platforms add a feature which means they must know that this is happening, and then they make it easier for us. So I think it's just keeping things in mind, but there's usually kind of, when you do a roundup, we do monthly updates, but actually when you look back at them, there's usually only like 3 or 4 underlying things that the features are adding to, and they're gradual.
But you, I mean, you do
Mm.
your monthly roundup with Andy Lambert, which I missed
Yeah.
today, unfortunately. Guys, you've got to go. You've got to attend because it's brilliant. Andy Lambert and Luann do a monthly roundup of all the social media
Yeah.
platforms, what's happening, what's going on, and it's so up to date and bang on, and it's always good fun listening to you two. Anyway, of course.
Thank you.
So yeah, and so. But by being immersed, so basically what you're saying is because you're immersed in this, you
Yeah.
see things happening, and and you can feel when things are
Yeah.
moving. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a challenge to keep on top of this, which is why we do the update, because we kind of figure, we read it every day, so we'll wrap it up in an hour. And yeah, it is as up to date. That's why it's at 11 o'clock. It gives us a couple of hours on the final day just to check through everything.
well, yeah, because things are happening so
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
I was amazed to see. Was it Wednesday? I spotted, or Tuesday or Wednesday this week, that on Google there's now a video. You can search by video feed, which
There's so much happening.
it's just crazy. And I was very
Yeah.
honoured that I clicked on mine and there was a video of me on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
which is very nice. And it's taking videos from LinkedIn, from Instagram,
Mm.
from YouTube,
Mm.
and it's fascinating. But if we're
Yeah.
not looking out for these things and being observant, we will miss them, won't we?
Yeah, and I would say, even though this is what I do, I'm still very structured with my time. Like it is the first thing I do in the day, and then I don't go back to it. Because I think if you were scrolling the news feeds and seeing it coming from all angles throughout the day, then it does get confusing. It's almost like I block my time to look for updates and to look for industry reports. Because otherwise, if you look at the news, it's like, oh, someone's just posted this, and oh, now someone's posted this one. It gets distracting, and you can't digest it and decide if it's actionable or not. So even
Yeah,
though I do it all the time, I still do block it as a single task, and a monthly task. And I would advise anyone else to kind of take the information in that way as well.
that's really valuable because it's very easy to be scrolling and see
Yeah.
a headline or a sentence and then take that out of context.
Yeah. And we're scrolling, we're busy, we're probably seeing something else above it and something else below it, and not knowing what to do, and then you miss things. So I'm very conscious about going in search of an industry report or an update.
Brilliant. But if we don't have the inclination all the time, we can just tap into yours and follow what you're
Yeah,
talking about, can't we?
absolutely.
You did
Yes.
the work for us. Thank you very much. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Now, I've realised, of course, we've gone over, which we
But
always do because we're so busy chatting. So we are slightly over. I hope that's okay. It's been fascinating. And I was going to ask you your favourite industry trend reports. Do you have a favourite or a favourite couple?
yeah, I think, well, my go-to is always Data Reportal, which is updated quarterly. Massive report, comes directly from the platforms, 400-500 pages every quarter. Like that's always my go-to. I do like the reports from Hootsuite because they do some great influencer reports and kind of career reports as well, and sector specific. So for me, Data Reportal, the social media management platforms, Social Insider and Rival IQ are usually my go-to.
Yeah, I love Social Insider. I think those are
Yeah,
great, actually. I really
yeah,
do like those. Yes, so fabulous. Oh, Luann, this
yes,
has
of
been
course.
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, I have my final question, which I ask all of my guests on
Yes,
the B2B Live Lounge, which you know what it is. So hopefully you've
yes,
got something ready. Um,
yes,
so as this doesn't obviously have to be about industry trend reports, this is you as
no.
a very experienced B2B marketer. What 3 top tips can you give to our listeners today, and if and when this ever is a podcast, which it is the plan, to action upon? 3 top tips.
Yeah. I think the first one always has to start with focus on your audience. They're the ones that are going to buy from you. They're the ones going to trust you, refer you. So everything you do should have your audience in mind. Then the second one would be about being consistent and showing up consistently in front of your audience with your messaging. No kind of like being really busy one week and then, or getting distracted and going back to it. Just drip feed and be consistent. And then I think if we think about the industry reports that we've talked about today, it's always thinking about the context of things as well, and is it relevant to you?
I love that. So start with your audience, be
Mhm.
consistent, and take those industry reports and basically check the context, check the background.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Luann Wise, it's been an absolute delight talking to you. Thank
thank
you
you.
so much. Obviously, people can come and find you on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
they can find your books on Amazon.
yes.
And brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm going to play us out with a little bit of music because
Oh,
that's what
lovely.
we do here. Why not? And there won't be a B2B Live Lounge next week because I'm going to be in Newcastle with Andrew
Nice.
at Atomicon.
There you
Brilliant.
go. Enjoy that.
Thank you, Luann.